going to talk about Social Security, and if you have any questions during the presentation, please just ask. Raise your hand. First of all, I do not work for the Social Security organization. I do not work for the federal government. I pay money to them, as all of you do. And this presentation and the slides were not developed by Social Security. There are best information we have on helping you maximize your benefits, and some of the ideas that you come away with will give you some food for thought. So if you have a phone, please put it on stun or off or something of that nature.
Explode.
So Social Security has gotten more and more complicated over the years. And it's not as simple as walking in and signing up, because you may be leaving a lot of money on the table. The rules have changed over the last number of years, and we're going to discuss some of them. Here's a couple. Just for your own idea, the primary insurance amount referred to in all of that is called the PIA. What that is nothing more than your benefit at your full retirement age. And we're going to discuss what full retirement age is. But PIA and full retirement age are the same thing. So if you look at this, we have 7 circles here, but notice that they're interlocked in different places. So making a decision about one of these can affect other things. So we have taking your benefit early, taking it late, what your marital status is, whether you're divorced or whether you have been married before, whether you're a widow or a widower. All of these come into play as to how much you can collect and when you can collect. Now, most people will not think of taking Social Security and having some strategy about how you should do it. You might, if you play chess or even if you play checkers, you might have a strategy of how you play the game. Well, this is a game with lots of interlocking parts. So the idea is to combine as many of the rules as possible so that you maximize your benefits over time. So you don't want to make a good decision about Social Security. You want to make the best decision that you can. So the common questions we all get and we all have on Social Security is, will it be there? We're going to discuss each of these. And again, you can make notes on the slides. Another common question is, will there be enough money coming from Social Security for you to live on? And how much will you receive? We're going to talk in detail about how much you will receive based on various inputs. And how can you maximize your benefits? So it's not as easy as going down and say, okay, I'm going to take money at 62 and that'll maximize my benefit through the rest of my life, or I'm going to wait till my full retirement age and take it at that point in time. So we'll discuss those. So will Social Security be there? The short answer is yes. For those of you who do not believe that, there are 535 people in the Congress of the United States. And what do you think their main purpose is in staying in that Congress? Being re-elected. And who are the biggest voting bloc in the United States? People who are in retirement or close to retirement. So those two combinations are going to keep Social Security going. Will it be exactly the way it is today? Probably not. My guess is that anybody who is currently at least 55 years of age will get the benefits that are on the board now. But remember, my crystal ball is as good as anybody else's crystal ball. But I think that's the consensus of opinion. So, contrary to what you hear and see and read from the press, remember, when I grew up, they just had radio in the beginning, and then we had television, and there were only 3 channels, and they did not broadcast 24 hours a day. And for the younger people in the room, when you wanted to change channels, you had to get out of your chair.
He was my remote.
And not only that, at the end of the broadcast, he used to play the Star Spangled Banner every night. So, for those of you who remember that. So, it's been running surpluses for the last 25 years. And under the last report, it will still have a surplus for another 10 years. Which means that there's more money going in than coming out. The reserve now is expected to be about $4 billion in 10 years. And they will gradually pull that down so that by 2036, less money will be coming in than is going out. So, if they do not do anything, there will only be 75% ability to pay out what they're paying out today. That's if nothing's done. I don't believe that nothing will be done. The last 2 times that the changes were made, once in 1977 and again in 1983, nothing was changed for the first time. They gave you 7 years of warning, and in 1983 they gave 17 years of warning. In other words, there weren't anybody that was in the system, there was going to be no change until the person from 1983, so the change came in 2000. So, is there enough money for you, if that's all you get, that you will receive? Is there enough money for you to live on? The answer is probably not. This is an average for the entire United States, and it doesn't work very well for living here in Summit County. $32,100, and there are a couple of problems if you look at health care at $4,500 a year. As we get older, health care and costs of medical is going to be the biggest issue. I would say in Summit County, this number needs to be closer to $50,000. And I'm not sure that that's going to be a comfortable living, but I think that $32,000 will be a very uncomfortable living. So, how much will your benefit be? Well, the answer is, in the financial world, when people ask this question, that depends, is the normal answer. So your benefits are determined by a number of different combinations, factors. It is how much you earned over your working lifetime, the age at which you apply, your marital status, and how well you take advantage of the rules to your advantage. And I think you're going to be surprised in some of the later slides that you see that what advantages that are available to you. So let's just take a look at this slide. Now, it's a little misleading when it says your minimum benefit is $1,000. That's for the purpose of this slide only. This doesn't mean that everybody's going to get at least $1,000. That's not what this slide is saying. But it just says that at age 62, if you turn 66 in year 2013, the year we're in, and your full retirement benefit is $1,333, and you decide this year that you want to start taking Social Security, you'll get $1,000. It's reduced by 75%. It also says if you wait till you're 70, you pick up 32% more over the $1,333, and you get a check for $1,760. That's a lot of money if you live another 20 or 30 years. The average married couple, both of whom are 65, the probability is more than 50% that one of them will live into their 90s. That number keeps going up. So let's take an example of Joe and Mary. Joe is 66 years old. He reaches full retirement age here. So he's entitled to $1,800 a month. Mary claims $1,100. So they're going to have about $2,900 a month coming in. Incidentally, the top payment, if you retire, retire this year at 66, the maximum amount of money for you will be about $30,400. That's the maximum, yes.
Is Mary the same age as him, or is she just going to claim at 66?
No, they are both at age 66. So both of them are 66 in this example. All right? So their benefit will be almost $700,000 if they live 20 years. Most of you think that your greatest asset is your house. $700,000 is a lot of money. So that's 29 times 12 times 20. Remember Joe and Mary, because we're going to come back to them and see if there's some way that we can increase that $700,000. So how are benefits calculated? The formula says they will take the best 35 years. And Chair. So the formula says they're going to take the best 35 years. If you don't have 35 years, every year less than 35 counts as a zero in their calculation. You must have 40 quarters in order to qualify for Social Security. 40 quarters is really, there are 4 quarters in a year. It used to be you had to work in each of the quarters. The formula today is about as long as you make somewhere around $3,500 in a year, you qualify for 4 quarters. That number keeps moving up. It started out at $50 a quarter. It's now up to about $3,500. So you have to have 40 quarters. Once you have qualified for 40 quarters, you qualify for Social Security. But if you only work 10 years, you're going to have 25 years of zeros, which will bring down your benefit drastically. So earnings are indexed for inflation, and they're averaged. And the benefits are based on what they call the primary insurance amount, PIA. PIA determines your benefit at your full retirement age. We're going to go through a table that shows when you reach your full retirement age. And the benefit is increased each year by a cost of living. Well, that's not exactly true. The cost of living adjustment in 2013 was 1.7%. In 2012, it was 3.5%. And in 2010 and 11, it was 0. There was no cost of living adjustment for that. The cost of living adjustment is based on the Consumer Price Index, and it's announced every October. So we will know sometime in October what the benefit is going to increase on January 1st of 2014. So it's called a COLA, cost of living adjustment. Now, if you're if you are 50 years and older, you are to get a statement every year. Sometimes you don't get it, but you can get it online. If you just go to ssa.gov/my statement, you can get it online, and you can even apply for Social Security benefits online. I checked out and made sure that that URL is correct, and went on to the Social Security Administration website, and it is there. And I will say this about people in the Social Security office that I help clients with. I find them very, very good and very helpful. But they can't give you advice on when to take your benefit or should you do it now, and some of the answers you get are not going to be correct. So you need to educate yourself, and you're doing that today. Okay, what is the impact of filing early? Remember we said somebody reaching the age of 66 this year is qualified for the full retirement benefit. You can start collecting Social Security at age 62. There are a couple exceptions to that. One has to do with disabilities. The other one has to do if you are a widow, you can claim benefits at age 60. Now, two things you need to remember about claiming benefits early. If you still want to work, you're only allowed to earn so much money. Think the number for this year. If you claim at 62, you cannot make more than $15,000 in the calendar year 2013 before they start taking money away. And they start taking money away at the rate of $1 for every $2 you make over the $15,000. It's $15,300 or some number like that. So if you decide that you want to take early and you're going to work, there's a limit on the amount of work you can have. Yes?
Will you explain how they get that back?
Well, what they do is, if you go in and want to claim early, they'll ask you if you're going to work, and they'll try to do an estimate, and they will reduce your payment so that you don't have to pay something back. They try to do it up front. If they make a mistake and they have taken too much, they'll adjust it and you'll get the money later.
Okay, I think I googled and that's what I read, something about an adjustment tax, but I couldn't understand.
Yeah, it's complicated. It depends on whether you're working for a salary, whether you're working self-employed. So they go through some formula. But if you claim at 62, your benefit is reduced by 25%, and so on up to age 65. Here is a formula that says that claiming early, your primary insurance amount, the amount you would get at the full retirement age, will be reduced by 0.05% for every month you claim early. That's from 63 to 66. The reduction is a little less between 62 and 63. You don't have to figure this out. Just know that if you claim early, you are going to get less money. The people at the Social Security office will tell you what your reduction is. So let's talk about delayed retirement credits. So for every month beyond your full retirement age, incidentally, once you reach your full retirement age, you can make as much money as you want in a job and continue to work, and your benefit will not be reduced. So, yes.
Is it taxed after 66?
Is it taxed?
Yeah.
It's taxed,
Always?
well, the tax on Social Security is totally dependent on how much money you make. Up to 85% of Social Security benefit can be taxed. There was a tie in the Senate back when, I forget who the vice president was, and broke the tie and made it taxable up to 85%. So you would get 2/3 more for every month you delay. It's called a delayed retirement credit. So if you were born between 1943 and 1954, here's how much you increase. Basically what this says, if you were to retire this year and claim and you decided not to take the money, your benefit will increase by 8% each and every year, up to 32%. So this is simple interest, it's not compound interest. So if your full retirement benefit is $2,230, and you don't take it till you're age 70, and there's no sense in not taking it at 70 because it does not increase after that, you get about $700 more a month. Over a 10-year period, that amounts to about $84,000. $700 a month times 12 times 10. Yes?
Okay, what's the difference if you collect at 66, you're getting $2,230 a month, at 70 you're getting $2,900 a month? How long does it take you to make up that?
There's a
difference?
break-even point, and it's usually somewhere around 15 years,
15 years, okay.
somewhere in there.
Okay.
The break-even point for taking it early, when it used to be 62 and your full retirement age was 65, was about the same number.
Is that amount correct for 68?
Is that amount correct for 68?
No, probably.
Oh, yeah, it should be 2563, I'm sorry. Thank you for pointing that out. I've looked at these things 20 times and didn't see that. So how can you maximize your benefit? And it's called a smart claiming strategy. Incidentally, starting next year, anybody that was born in 1955 or beyond, their full retirement age increases by 2 months for 10 years for the first year, so that if you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. That's not in your notes.
But in between 54 and 60, isn't it 66 and a half?
Well, it goes up by 2 months a year from
I see what you're saying.
from 1955. So 1955 it's 66 in 2 months. 1956 it's 2 years.
Right.
It's 66 in 4 months until you get to 1960, and then it becomes 67. So what is a claiming strategy? It's a science of combining all those little circles we saw and a bunch of circles that you didn't see and putting them together so that you maximize your benefit claim. And it may involve switching or turning on and off your certain benefits, and we're going to talk about how you do that and when you can do that and when you can't do that. As an example, if you claim at age 62 and you wait and collect for more than 12 months, you cannot back out. The rule says if you are claiming 62 and then decide that you don't want it, if you pay back the money to the Social Security Administration, it will start you from zero again, and you will be, and your benefits will increase. But let's talk about some auxiliary benefits. And on one of the phone conversations I had with somebody, they asked about spousal benefits, and we're going to talk about that here. Spousal benefits are paid to the spouse of the worker. Survivor benefits are paid to the surviving spouse of a worker. Children's benefits are paid to minor children. I had a sister whose husband died when her two children were 2 and 4. And so the kids got Social Security benefits through their age 18. So you are protected if you're married, and I think you have to be married for at least 1 year before you can collect on somebody else's if they die. So, and then child care benefits paid to parent of children. We've had some situations here. I have a neighbor who took over raising one of their grandchildren. They adopted them, and so they were able to claim benefits for the grandchild because they were the adopted parents. There's some other situations where people of different ages marry. Somebody, whether it be it's usually the male, maybe 65 or 66 and claiming benefits, marries somebody younger and has children, and you claim benefits. Social Security system is very flexible within a great big border.
What about common law?
They don't, common law is not recognized by the federal government. It's recognized in certain states, but not by the federal government. But the rules on what is marriage keeps changing, so we don't know. So, you know, they will adapt, and anything now, I believe that where you have marriages in certain states like New York, Massachusetts, it changes the Social Security rules for those folks. So when should I start benefits? I'm not going to talk too much. I'll talk about spousal benefits. I'm not going to talk about some of the others. It depends on a lot of factors. Marital status, age, health, outlook, and longevity. But let's put those aside for a little while and just talk about some of these others, because when you claim, should take into consideration all these things. If you have a lot of assets available, that's going to take you through maybe the first 20 years of retirement, you probably don't want to claim early. How much of those assets are liquid? If everything's tied up in your house, you got a different problem. What is your need for income? What's your desired standard of living? And one of the things you need to concern yourself with is longevity. You don't want to run out of money at 80. There are only so many greeting jobs at Walmart. And what are your survivor needs? Because this comes into play if a spouse takes benefits early. It affects some of the spousal benefits that the other spouse can get. You need a strategy that considers all of these. So the criteria, there are 2 things that you worry about. Starting date for singles or dates for couple, and when you're going to maximize your expected cumulative lifetime benefit. But one of the things you have to think about is, okay, if I reach the average retirement of my expected life, my life expectancy, what happens if I die 10 years early? Or what happens if I die 10 years late? So one of the programs I use to analyze for people takes that into consideration and shows you, here's what happened if you die 10 years early or 5 years early. Here's what happens if you die and live to 10 years more than your life expectancy. And in Utah, our life expectancy is quite long. It's quite long. So the other thing to take into consideration is minimizing the longevity risk. In other words, running out of money too soon. So what is the spousal benefit and when are you entitled to it? Spousal benefit is based on 50% of the other spouse's primary insurance amount, full retirement age, the number on the full retirement age of the benefit.
For the spouse,
The spousal benefit is based on 50% of the other spouse's amount that they would get at their full retirement age.
providing you take it at 66.
No. And therein lies the hook. If they take it early, their amount is reduced, and therefore the spousal benefit is going to be reduced. I have a,
That's what that's what I was asking, like, whoever you're claiming on, whatever their check is at PIA, the spouse claiming, you're giving us figures for them at 66, is that
no,
what you're
if,
doing?
let's say, as an example, that at 66, they were going to get, there was $1,000.
Okay.
And they claimed early and only got 80% of that. So instead of getting $1,000, they got $800.
Okay.
Now, what the spousal benefit is now only going to be $400. It's 50% of, okay?
Yeah.
While we're at that, let me just say that anybody who has been married for at least 10 years has the right to claim against that ex-spouse's amount. I'll tell you a story. In a previous life, I was in industry. I ran a factory back in Ohio in the late 90s and early 80s. And a lady who worked in the factory came to me and said, I will not be in tomorrow. I have reached 65 and I'm going down to claim Social Security. So 2 days later, I saw her and I said, how did you make out? She said, those people down there are crazy. She said, they asked me if I'd ever been married before. And I said, yeah, I've been married 5 different times. So I said, well, we need to know the Social Security number of all your ex-husbands. She says, Social Security numbers, I don't even remember some of their names. So, if you've been married 10 years, you have a right to claim against that person. And the Social Security office will figure out whether it's more advantageous for you to make that claim or you won't. Yes?
If the ex-spouse dies, are you still entitled?
10 years, yeah.
You're still entitled to the.
The best of my knowledge, I think the answer to that is correct. And they will figure
And
that out.
then isn't it called survivor's benefit if they die?
I'm sorry?
If you're claiming on them and they're dead, is it then a
Oh,
survivor
well,
benefit?
If they have died, you're eligible to claim at age 60. The problem is, if you claim at age 60, you have you can't earn more than $15,000.
So that counts as your spouse. That counts as your income. I mean, your Social Security.
Yeah.
So how does that work if the first wife can claim and then the second one?
They all claim it doesn't change anybody else's benefit.
No?
Doesn't reduce yours, doesn't have any effect on anybody else's. Oh, Michael?
Hey, sorry I'm late.
All right. So let's. So as the spouse of the insured worker, you're eligible to receive the spouse's insurance benefit if you meet the following conditions. So here are the conditions. Your spouse is filed for retirement benefits. Doesn't matter at what age. You are not receiving a benefit based on the primary insurance amount, which equals or it exceeds 1/2, and I'm going to show you an example of this and just on the next slide. And you have filed an application for spousal benefits, and you are at least 62. So here's the example. His PIA, his benefit at his full retirement age is $1,200. Half of that is $600, and minus what her PIA benefit would going to be. So her spousal benefit would be $200. So she can collect $200 or $400. $400 is her own. $200 would be the spousal benefit. Okay. Now, there's one hooker in this. So over here it shows that if her PIA was $700, greater than half, she can't get a spousal benefit. Is that clear?
So she has to pay her own.
That's it. If she claims at that point in time, yes.
So this is all skewed the spousal benefit to the lower earned lifetime income.
That's usually the way it works, but there are exceptions to that too.
And this is her at 66.
No, all she had to be was 62. But now we're going to go and look at it a little bit. So there's two rules. Claiming rules before full retirement age and claiming rules after. So, before full retirement age, a claim for either spousal or retirement benefits will be deemed by the Social Security office as a claim for both. You cannot choose which one you want. Social Security office will say, we're going to give you the bigger of the two. In other words,